honestly, it didn't matter how this episode ended. Either way, I would have been ruined. Hey guys, so we are here, week 6, episode 6, hometowns. Nobody asked for my opinion, but I'm gonna give it to y'all anyway. So we start with, it's hometown week. So we start with this weird walk. Like Michelle and Tayshia are going on a walk, but they're wearing heels. Who goes for a walk in heels? And then the background noise is so loud that we can barely hear what Tayshia and Michelle are saying. So then that's intercut with Caitlin back at the house. She walks in, she tells the guys, you know, it's hometowns and your families are here, and they get really excited, and she tells each of them who's here for them. So, you know, she tells Brandon, your mom, your dad, and your brother are here, which apparently, like, his brother was supposed to go to the Navy, but he pushed it back his enlistment so he could be on, you know, meet Michelle, which was really cool because he knows that was very important to Brandon, so he pushed back his enlistment. They tell Rodney his mom and stepdad is here. Nate, stepdad and mom is here as well. And then Joe is already in his hometown, so obviously he has the most people coming. He has his mom, his dad, his brother, and his sister-in-law. So then we cut to Brandon and Michelle on the first hometown. Brandon gets the first hometown, which is really good momentum because he had a really good one-on-one. Now you get to have a hometown, which is kind of like another one-on-one back-to-back. And in like a short time span of like a show like this, it's actually kind of in his advantage to like be able to follow up so quickly. So he says that him and his brother, I think, and the rest of his family bonded over skating. So he takes Michelle to a skate park, and he is awful. He cannot do any tricks, like, at all. And he's like, I promise I can skate, I just get really nervous around you, which is cute and funny. So then Michelle is really nervous and afraid. Rightfully so, because she can easily break a bone trying to skate with the young lad Brandon, who looks like he's in high school. So, you know, they're playing around on the skateboards, and so at the end they sit down. She's like, so who am I going to be meeting today? So he's like, you know, my brother who pushed back his enlistment, my mom, and my dad. So then we cut to the night portion. Okay, so we cut to the night portion of Brandon's hometown, and Michelle, I think she did bring like flowers or something for Brandon's mom. So she's outside, she's asking, you know, what's your mom's name, which was Carmen, dad's name is David, brother's name is Noah. So Michelle walks in, they all say their highs. It was a really warm welcome. So they sit down and they get to it. They start talking. And, you know, Noah is fine, okay? If Noah wants to join Bachelor Nation, I am sure we will welcome him with open arms. But he is a little young. So Noah asks Michelle, like, what made my brother stick out to you? And so they kind of go over how they met, you know, his intro with the bed. And Michelle makes a point to say, like, you know, he tried to be like a really smooth talker and use these lines, but like once I got past that, I like really liked Brandon. I feel like that's all of us. Like when he first came, he was using like these corny lines that you find on Tumblr and Pinterest. But once he like shedded that whole thing and he was like just himself, like we all really liked him and Michelle really liked him. And so then they split up. Michelle is talking to Brandon's dad, and I think Brandon's talking to his mom and his brother. Michelle and Brandon's dad hit it off. So Brandon's dad fishes, Michelle's dad and brother fish, which I'm assuming her brother doesn't want to be on the show because I literally did not know she had a brother until like it was sometime in the beginning of the season when she posted that she was an auntie again. I was like, wait, she has siblings? I thought she was an only child. Anyway, and so Michelle was just like, yeah, I can like see us together, just on the lake, fishing, like just having a great time, which is a good sign. And Brendan's dad seems very nice as well, very funny, very warm, very sweet. So I really like that. That's a good sign. She's getting along with dad, and she can envision their families together. Like, that's a very good sign for Brandon. And then Noah talks to Michelle, and Noah's like, I just don't want to get I don't want my brother to get his heart broken, basically, is what. And, every family has a person who comes and is like, well, giving a little heat to the lead, which, if I had a family member in the same situation, I'd be giving a little heat too. So they talk, and the night goes really well. So then they leave, and Michelle, was like, I'm like really starting to have like feelings for you. I'm starting to fall for you. And Brandon and Michelle make out for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm surprised his family did not walk out the door and see them still making out. Like, it was hot. Like, I don't think I've seen them kiss like that. Not even the hot tub was like that. Anyway, so next hometown is Rodney, Granny Smith. So he chooses to go apple picking, of course. Him and Michelle with their little apple themed relationship. So they go to an orchard in Minnesota, and they're gonna pick an apple that is only grown in Minnesota called First Kiss. So they're so cute. They're in the apple orchard. They're picking apples. When she first saw him, she ran to him and jumped on him, and he caught her. And he put her on his shoulders so she could like reach up and pick a apple high up. So Rodney's mad strong. But yeah, it was just so much good content. Like, this is a Bachelor edit, but for whatever reason, my man's ain't the Bachelor. I don't get it. Anyway, so they're in the apple orchard, they're talking. She asked him who she's gonna meet tonight, and he says his mom and his stepdad. And Michelle's really excited to meet Rodney's mom. We all heard about her like on his one-on-one, and Michelle mentioned like, yes, I'm so excited to meet this woman that you talk about so much, that you respect so much, that you love so much. Rodney said like his mom's a single mom and raised him, and she's really strong, and he just really loves his mother. And so they're sitting in the orchard, they're talking, and then they go ride bikes, and they hold hands while they're riding bikes, which is so cute. I could never do that because I can't ride a bike with one hand. I can barely ride a bike with 2 hands. So then we move to the night portion of the date. We meet Rodney's mom and his stepdad. I do not remember their names. Maybe Lydia? Ooh. And so they're talking, and I think that it's going really well. Let me see, look at my notes. Yes, I can't, sorry, I don't have their names. It went really well. The only thing was, people were like, Rodney's mom seems like she doesn't have confidence in her son. And I don't think that's the case, right? I just think that she saw the potential for her son to be heartbroken, and she was just like letting it, like, she was addressing it. She was just like, well, how do I know you're not gonna break my son's heart? And again, if I had a family member in this situation, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, well, what makes him stand out? Like, why is he still here? Like, what makes him different from the rest? Like, are you gonna pick him? Are you gonna break his heart? And so Rodney and Rodney's mom asked Michelle, like, what made Rodney stand out? And she was like, we just laughed. Like, he's my best friend. He's hilarious. And that's what I want in a partner. And she mentioned, like, you know, it's about, like, when you're in the airport and your flight gets canceled and you're stuck there for 5 more hours. Like, who can you have fun with? And I did like that she said that. And yeah, I think it went really well. And we see Rodney and his mom talking, and you know, Rodney's mom again expressing her concern about him possibly getting his heart broken. And like I said, Rodney seems like such a good guy, and I think based on the way his mom was acting, I can tell like he's been in a few relationships that have not gone well, and it may not have necessarily been him, and she just is tired of it and she wants him to be happy. And you know, he's expressed how much he wants to be a husband and a father, and she just wants that for him. And so I love that, you know, she's expressing her concern, and he's like, Michelle is worth the risk. Rodney, such a gem. And so, you know, his mom was like, okay. You could see her getting on board, like, you know what, if he thinks she's worth the risk, I'm gonna let it be, and we'll see what happens. So that went really well. They leave, they say goodnight, but Michelle does not say that she's falling for Rodney. I'm pretty sure he expressed to her that he was falling for her. And she might have mentioned like she has feelings for him, but she hadn't said like I'm falling for you. So that's the end of that. And which are now strong. Those are 2 very good, strong hometowns. I was like, I don't know how Michelle's gonna pick. And we've only gone through half the hometowns. So then we see Joe. Joe, we're in Minnesota. We are in Joe's hometown. He's the only one who truly gets a hometown. So basically, he brings Michelle to his high school. So on their one-on-one, she brought him to her high school. So now he's bringing her to his high school. And we see like Joe's personality poke out a little bit. It was really funny. They were walking in the hallway, and he goes, yeah, all the math and science classes were over here, so I avoided this area. Which was funny. And they're walking, and like the library's on like the right side or the left side, and he's like, this is the library where I didn't spend a lot of time. And there's a spot right outside the library where it's like a high wall. He's like, this is something I've always wanted to do, and everyone else used to do it, and I never got to do it. And he like picked Michelle up, and then they were like making out while she was sitting on the wall. And I was like, oh, this is cute. But I'm also like, are they both like trying to relive high school? I mean, I'm not mad at it. Because like I said, love and basketball, every baller has wanted it. So they're kind of like living out their love and basketball fantasy. And then I think they stay at the wall, and basically Joe asks her to prom, because Michelle mentioned in her poem she was the last picked for prom. And Joe mentioned that he's never been to prom, and he never had a girlfriend in high school, which is hard for me to believe. I think he didn't have a girlfriend in high school because he didn't want one, because there was no way them girls was not chasing after Joe Coleman. Mr. Basketball. he just was too busy for them. So they go, they change. Joe changes into a tux. Michelle changes into this gorgeous red dress. And they go have prom. There are donuts. They take pictures. Joe was looking like a snack in them pictures. He put on the snapback. I was like, okay, Joe. I see you with the swag. They dance. It was so cute. Such a cute prom. He gave her a corsage. I honestly love this new found obsession Bachelor Nation has with prom. Because we saw prom on Bachelor in Paradise. Now we're seeing prom here. I'm sure we're going to see another prom soon. I really like the prom dates. Joe mentioned, so they moved to the night portion. Michelle asked Joe who she's meeting. Joe mentions mom, dad, brother, and sister-in-law Hannah. She's the only name I can remember. And he was like, oh, if you get in good with Hannah, you're straight. So at first I was kind of like, Hannah ain't even related. Like, she married in. How are you getting good with her? You're straight with the family. And then they had the hometown, and I was like, I get it. So, they mentioned, like, the Coleman men aren't good at expressing their emotions. They, like, are just very, like, calm, don't leave much out on the table. And, Hannah, the sister-in-law, makes a really good joke about, like, oh, it's going to be a quiet night with the Coleman men. And so basically, I get why he said that if you get in good with Hannah, you're good with the family. Hannah is the most talkative one. Like, she shows, like, she expresses the most emotion. She has the most to say. She gonna say it. And so I get why they're like, oh, if you're getting good with Hannah, you're cool with all of us. Because they're all just so, like, laid back, and Hannah's the one who's like... So, I don't even think I heard Joe's brother speak. I just heard Hannah. So, Joe and his dad first of all, Joe and his dad go talk. So, Joe's just like, so how's everything going? Or Joe's dad was like, how's everything going? And he was like, good. And so, then they said something else. I don't remember what they said. And then Joe was like to his dad, do you have any more questions? He was like, nope. And he was like, all right then. And they just sat there quiet. And it was hilarious. Because I feel like low key, that's most dads. They're just like, I'm just here because your mom brought me here. She said I had to come. And it is awkward with the cameras and stuff. And like I said, they don't seem like an expressive family anyway. And then like just with the cameras, and I seized up even more. But then we see Hannah talking to the brother. And she's like, I hope this works out because we might see her in the grocery store because she lives near us, which is hilarious. But she's Joe and Michelle's mom talk, and Joe's mom is like, how's he doing expressing himself? Because mom knows her son is not much of a person who expresses himself. And so Michelle tells her like he's been doing really well. Like we've talked, and he's shared some things with me about high school and basketball and injuries, and he cried, and his mom is like in awe. So she's just like, oh my goodness, she's probably been trying to do this, pull emotions out of Joe his whole life, and Joe's dad for as long as she's met him. And so I think that also like makes her like Michelle more, like, oh, you've gotten my son to like open up, like what? And so we see Hannah talking to Joe. Hannah and his brother. His brother does nothing. I think his brother maybe said one sentence. Hannah's talking to Joe, and she's like, are you ready to propose? And he was like, yes, I'm ready to propose. And Michelle had mentioned earlier in the day that Joe hadn't really expressed how he felt about her. Like, she's like he hasn't overtly said like, I'm falling for you, or I like you, or I'm in love with you. I mean, you could tell by his actions that he does, but he hasn't like said it. And some people need you to say it too. Like, you need actions, and you need someone to express that as well, like with words. And so once the hometown's over, they're leaving, Joe says to Michelle, like, I'm falling for you, which I that's what Michelle needed. Like, I feel like if Joe had not said like, I'm falling for you, she would have sent him home. And so yeah, she's like, I think she said, I'm falling for you too, or I have feelings for you too. She like basically just reciprocates that emotion. So yes, she's reciprocated to Brandon, she's reciprocated to Joe, she is not reciprocated to my man's Rodney. So then we move on, and I'm still like, bruh, how is she going to pick? How is she going to choose who she has to send home? So then we move on to Nate's hometown. So Nate has had the most drama, or the most questions about Nate is his hometown, because we've all seen the previews. And so Nate is from Austin, so they go paddleboarding. He's like, I go paddleboarding 3 to 4 times a week. I'm also like, what do you do for work that you can go paddleboarding 3 to 4 times a week? But so he takes her paddleboarding, and Michelle is nervous and scared. And first of all, Nate has on them orange swim trunks again, looking fine. And Michelle's like, oh, you have on the orange swim trunks? And she's like, yeah, I broke them out again. You told me you liked them last time. I love a man who listens. You saw I liked something and you wore it again. Point for you. And so they get on the water, they're paddleboarding. Michelle is nervous and afraid. Nate's trying to like put her on the paddleboard. She's like, do you know what you're doing? He's like, I know what I'm doing. She's like, I don't know if you know what you're doing. It's just really cute, fun banter between them. So they get off their paddleboards, they get back on land, and they're talking, and Nate mentions being crazy about Michelle. He's like, I'm crazy about you. And she's like, wait, what? You're crazy about me? He's like, come on, you know this. So again, we have someone expressing their feelings for Michelle. And Nate does look like he is like crazy in love. And so she asks, like, who am I gonna meet tonight? So Nate mentions his mom and his stepdad Charles, and who his mom and stepdad Charles got divorced about a year ago, but he's still coming to support Nate. And so we get to the night portion, and basically it goes. It's like they're not red flags, but they're kind of like pink flags, because like Nate's mom and stepdad both mention like, okay, he's never mentioned anything about feelings for like love, feelings for girls, none of that. Like he's never talked about it, never mentioned it. I'm assuming he's never talked about marriage too, if he's never like mentioned talking about love or females. And so Nate's mom was really nice. She brought Michelle some candy, some Canadian candy, and she's like, all my kids love when I bring this. It'll make you a favorite. And I thought that was a really sweet gesture. But then they get down to the nitty gritty. Okay, Michelle and Nate's mom and Charles, his stepdad, ain't playing. So Nate and his dad are talking, or his stepdad are talking, and stepdad's just like, how do you know you're ready? Like, how do you know outside this bubble this is sustainable? Like, they're just asking really valid questions. Like, Nate's stepdad's talking to Michelle, like, I don't know if he's ready for marriage. He's never mentioned it before. Like, and then mom, same thing. Like, I don't know if he's ready. He's never talked about it before. Stuff we don't talk about. And then he's like, if you've never been in love before, how do you know it's love? Like, they were just asking very valid questions. And Nate is just like nervously laughing because he's obviously uncomfortable. And he's, saying like, oh, I'm ready to propose, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, he is not ready. Like, they're just convinced he's not ready. And there's nothing like Nate can say to convince them. And it kind of throws Michelle off. Like, you can tell, like, when the stepdad was like, he is not ready to propose, she kind of was you could tell she was disappointed. I'd be disappointed too if I'm like, really have this deep connection with somebody and I want to get married and have kids, and they're saying like, this guy is not ready. He's not ready to be a husband. But I do love that this moment kind of brought Charles, Nate's stepdad, and Nate together, because like I said, they were talking their feelings, they were like hashing things out, and Nate was like, I've never said this to you, but like, I love you. And Charles was like, I love you too. So I'm assuming just they just don't talk about feelings at all. Like for each other, for other people, it's just they don't talk about it. And and Nate was like, I want to be to my family like what you were. Like I want to be the husband father that you were to like me and my mom. And then Charles was like, well, you'll be better than me. That was such a cute, touching moment. Like two black men on national television, like just expressing how much they love each other, how much they appreciate each other, and like said Nate, and then Charles was like, it's been a pleasure to like be in your life since ninth grade and see you grow. It was just a really sweet moment that I loved. But like I said, Nate's mom and stepdad were asking valid questions. But then also, Nate's mom is divorced 2 times. And then this was a fresh divorce, like a year and a half. And like Charles, again, divorced, fresh, year and a half. So it's like, do you take this with a grain of salt? Because they might be a little bit jaded off of the fresh divorce. Or, are, like I said, these are valid questions, but do you take them with a grain of salt because they have just recently been divorced? And it's like, just because someone's never said they loved anyone, it's not necessarily a red flag. That's what I'm saying. It's a pink flag. Like, you may have never loved anybody. You may not have ever been in a serious enough relationship to talk about it to your family. So that's why I'm like, they're pink flags. They're not necessarily red flags. And so, yeah, then that's the 4 hometowns. And I'm at the end, I'm like, I'm really nervous for Nate at the end of this. Like, I feel like Michelle left unsettled just because Nate's mom and stepdad were both like, he's not ready. Like, so she leaves, and then he's just like, he told her, like, oh, me and Charles just said we loved each other for the first time. Look at you bringing families together. And she's like, yeah. And I'm sure they kissed before they left, but they didn't show that. They probably edited it out to make us nervous. But again, like, I feel like Michelle left unsettled. And so she's in her room, she's thinking, get a knock on the door. It's Serena, can I walk you out? Pitt and Bree Hall from Matt James's season. Serena has her ring on, Miss Grocery Store. And then Bree is in a relationship as well. And she's like, come and talk to Michelle. They're trying to like ask her like, so like, now you're down to the final 4, like, how do you feel? And she's like, I'm eating my words. Like, she was like, she walked into this thinking like she was gonna meet anybody, or she was just only gonna meet one person, and now she's like, I'm eating my words. I have 4 amazing guys, the best guys I've ever met in my life. And she just looks really elated. Serena and Bree are happy for her. They're asking if her hometowns gave her any clarity. She says yes. That makes me nervous for Nate. Because we've seen Michelle, when a red flag goes up, you get walked out. So we don't really get much more from their interaction, Bree, Serena, Michelle. I think they didn't want to give anything away, so they like edited it out. But then we move to the rose ceremony. They have all the guys walk in one by one by height. So first we get Brandon, then we get Rodney, then we get Joe, and then we get Nate. I think that's the order of height. And so first rose goes to Brandon. Not a surprise. He had, like I said, he's got momentum. He got that really good one-on-one. He met Michelle's parents. Then he got the first hometown that went really well. Him and his dad and Michelle connected so well. So I wasn't surprised. Second rose goes to Nate. That was a surprise. I was convinced she was gonna send Nate home. Just like I said, I think she left that hometown unsettled. But then also she mentioned with Bree and Serena that she didn't necessarily have to leave in an engagement. She was like, if it feels right, or she said, I'm going to do what feels right. And I think that's how she convinced herself to keep Nate. Like, he may not be ready to be engaged in someone's husband, but we can always work on that. So we can just leave committed to each other. So I think that was her, like, she thought it through, and that was the way she was, like, gonna keep Nate. And hopefully still be happy, and I hope she's not settling. So second rose goes to Nate. And now I'm nervous, because my boy Rodney don't got no rose yet. And there's only one rose left. And Joe, my boy, too. And he ain't got no rose either. We need another rose, okay? Wells, come bring us another rose. So, last rose goes to Joe. I honestly, I knew Rodney was going home, but I didn't want him to go home. I was hoping, like, he wouldn't go home. So, I feel like it would have been more suspenseful if Nate got the last rose, but whatever. Rodney has to go home, and she was like, grabs his hand, is like, can I walk you out? So then they go and they sit on the bench, like, right outside the building. I don't understand why they couldn't edit out the noise or turn up the sound. Like, they were having such a beautiful conversation, and all you hear is city noise in the background. But basically she was telling him, like, you are enough. Like, this does not mean, like, you are not enough. You are enough, you know, and just feelings move faster in other relationships, which is true, because Rodney did start out in the friend zone. I feel like if Rodney didn't start in the friend zone, he would have gotten a rose. He had to work. He had that one-on-one. He worked his way out, but it's just, it was so heart-wrenching. And he was so sweet. He was so nice. He was like, I care about you. Like, I'm falling for you still. Like, oh, look at the Bachelor look at the Bachelor edit. I don't understand why we got Blockhead as the Bachelor and not Rodney. They didn't even have to force a Bachelor edit for us to want Rodney to be the Bachelor, and they forced the Bachelor edit for Blockhead, and he's the Bachelor, and nobody bought it. Anyway, Rodney gets in the car. He's like, you know, I just wasn't it for her, but, you know, I hope she's happy. I hope she finds somebody. You know, I saw a life together, but she didn't see it with me, but I still care about her. Oh, and I cried. I can't believe I cried. Rodney, if you come across this video at all, like, it's okay. You can DM me. You can use the code word Granny Smith. I'll know you saw this video. I will fly out to Rancho Cucamonga. I think that's how you say it. Go Toros. But yeah, and then there were 3. So we're down to Joe, Nate, and Brandon. And again, next week, or Fantasy Suites, I'm going to be ruined. Whoever she eliminates, I'm going to be ruined. My prediction is Brandon, only because his age. Brandon is younger than Michelle. I think he just turned 28, and Michelle's already 28, so they're like a little bit less than a year apart. But I think that is going to play a major role in her letting him go. But it's, again, I'm gonna be heartbroken. He's so into Michelle, and he's so committed, and he trusts her, and he will propose, like, he would have proposed right then and there if he could have. So yeah, and the men's tell-all is coming up. I will film a video for that too. But yeah, all right, guys. I'm gonna cry. All these last 3 episodes are gonna be tears. It's not healthy, but whatever. I'll see you guys later. Bye.